There are moments in life when you pause and realize that everything meaningful begins quietly, like the first ray of light breaking through the horizon. It does not shout, it simply appears, and suddenly the whole world knows it is morning. I have always believed that within each of us there is a similar kind of light. A heart that shines, a warmth that can touch others even without words. It is not something you can see, but something you can feel, and it is this invisible radiance that shapes who we are and how we serve those around us. When I think of the heart as the source of light, I imagine it as the center of everything human. It is where courage is born, where compassion finds its roots, where the quiet strength to continue resides. The heart does not need applause to shine. It glows even in silence, even when no one is watching. Its brilliance is not measured by how much it conquers, but by how deeply it gives. And in that giving, we find the truest form of beauty. The light that comes from the heart is not perfect. It flickers, it dims at times. But even in its unsteady moments, it remains, because it is real. There are days when we doubt ourselves, when we question whether our actions truly matter, when the weight of expectations feels heavier than we can carry. Yet it is precisely then that our inner light becomes most vital. It does not erase the darkness, it helps us walk through it. That is its quiet power. In the journey of growing, learning, and serving, I have seen how this light connects us. No one owns it alone. It moves between people, from a word of encouragement, from a gesture of kindness, from the steady support of those who stand beside us. The heart gives light, but it also receives it. It learns to shine by reflecting the love and trust that others share. That is why every encounter, every act of understanding, every shared silence matters. It feeds that fire inside us that says, "You are not alone, your light belongs to a larger sky." There is a kind of grace in realizing that the heart's light has no boundaries. It does not stop at borders, or languages, or titles. It flows through friendship, through family, through a sense of community that binds us across distance. Sometimes I see that light most clearly in the eyes of the young, full of curiosity, ready to believe that good things are possible. And sometimes I see it in the faces of those who have lived many years, who have seen both joy and loss, and still choose to hope. The heart's light does not age, it deepens. It learns to shine differently, more softly perhaps, but never less beautifully. In moments of uncertainty, when we face challenges that test our resolve, I remind myself that leadership, service, and purpose begin in the same place, in the heart, not in grand gestures or loud declarations, but in quiet conviction. To serve is not to stand above, but to stand beside, to listen, to understand, to bring light to those who need it most, and to receive their light in return. The heart, after all, is both a lantern and a mirror. There are people whose strength seems effortless. But if you look closer, you will often find that their light was shaped by the storms they faced. It is not sunlight untouched by clouds, it is the glow that remains after the rain. I have met people whose resilience is radiant. Those who rise each morning to care for others, who find hope where others might see none, who believe in the possibility of goodness, even when the world feels uncertain. They are living proof that the heart's light is the most enduring form of power we have, and what a gift it is to share that light. To let others see that within you there burns something kind, something steadfast, something that refuses to fade. When we act from that place, we do more than help others, we awaken them to their own inner brightness. The heart's light multiplies, it never diminishes when shared. The more you give it, the more it grows. Until the entire room, the entire community, the entire world begins to glow with its warmth. I often think that the greatest challenge is not finding the light, but trusting it. Because to trust it means to open yourself, to be vulnerable, to care deeply, to risk being misunderstood, but it is also the only way to live fully. When the heart leads, life feels more authentic, decisions carry meaning, service becomes joy, not obligation, hope becomes an act of courage. And even when the path ahead is uncertain, that inner light shows us the next step, just enough to keep moving forward. Sometimes the heart's light is gentle, like dawn. Sometimes it is fierce, like midday sun. And sometimes it is faint, like a candle struggling against the wind. But all these forms matter. Even the smallest flicker can guide someone home. Even the quietest act of kindness can change a life. That is the truth I hold close. That no light, however small, is ever wasted. In the end, everything that endures, love, integrity, compassion, comes from the same source. The heart is not only where we feel, it is where we become. It teaches us to lead with empathy, to speak with purpose, to see others not as strangers, but as reflections of our own humanity. And when we begin to live this way, the world around us begins to transform. What once seemed divided becomes connected. What once felt cold begins to warm. So, let us protect that light. Let us nurture it with gratitude, humility, and courage. Let it guide the way we speak, the way we act, the way we serve. Because when we live from the heart, we bring clarity to confusion, hope to despair, and light to places that have forgotten how to shine. And in doing so, we discover that the greatest strength is not found in power, but in compassion, not in recognition, but in sincerity, not in perfection, but in presence. As I look to the future, I hold on to that image of a light that never leaves, that dwells quietly within, that grows when shared. The world may change, but that truth will not. The heart, with all its tenderness and resilience, will always be the source of our brightest light. And perhaps that is the most beautiful thing about being human, that no matter how vast the night may seem, each of us carries a sunrise inside. We only need the courage to let it rise. Life rewards those who understand that duty is not a burden. It's an alignment with how reality works. Commitment to duty, when seen clearly, isn't about following orders or pleasing others. It's about recognizing the patterns that sustain success, the responsibilities that build trust, and the long-term mindset that separates those who endure from those who fade. Everything meaningful requires commitment, and everything sustainable is built on duty, to principles, to purpose, and to others. When I look at the trajectory of people and nations, I see the same truth repeat itself. Those who survive and thrive are the ones who commit to their responsibilities, even when it's hard, even when no one is watching. Duty is not glamorous. It's the discipline of consistency. It's doing what must be done, not because you want to, but because it's the right thing to do. And that mindset compounds, over days, over years, over generations, in every system, whether it's a company, a country, or an individual life. There are rules of cause and effect. If you plant responsibility, you harvest stability. If you invest in long-term thinking, you get resilience. If you neglect your duty, you pay a price that grows with time. Life has a way of testing how deeply you understand these relationships. The more honest you are about them, the more effective you become. Commitment isn't a single act. It's a continuous calibration between what you want and what reality demands. Most people struggle because they treat duty as a choice among many, not as the foundation of all. They chase comfort instead of purpose. But purpose has a cost, and that cost is discipline. The irony is that when you fully accept that cost, you stop feeling constrained by it. It becomes part of who you are. Every generation faces a version of this test. There comes a point when you must decide whether to think in decades or in moments, whether to build something that lasts or something that merely feels good now. The future doesn't reward the impatient. It rewards those who can see beyond their own timeline, those who can plant trees whose shade they may never sit under. That's real commitment to duty, not doing what benefits you today, but what strengthens the structure for those who come after. I've learned that true duty is rooted in an understanding of interdependence. We are all parts of a larger system, a team, a society, a world. What you do affects others, and what they do affects you. Ignoring that reality leads to chaos. Respecting it creates harmony. This isn't just philosophy, it's practicality. Systems function when each component does its job reliably. That's how trust forms. That's how progress compounds. It's easy to talk about commitment when everything is going well. The real test comes when things fall apart, when plans fail, when expectations aren't met, when uncertainty clouds your path. In those moments, your relationship with duty defines you. Do you react emotionally, or do you return to principles? Do you give up, or do you adapt? People who stay anchored to their responsibilities during hard times build credibility, with others and with themselves. That credibility becomes their capital for the future. The future itself is not a destination. It's an outcome of the decisions you make today. Every action is a seed. Some grow fast, others take years. The key is to keep planting, keep refining, keep aligning your behavior with what reality shows you to be true. When you commit to duty, you create a feedback loop of learning. Mistakes stop being failures and start becoming information. Pain becomes a signal. Progress becomes measurable. Duty also brings clarity. When you know what you must do, distractions lose their power. You stop chasing approval. You stop wasting energy on what doesn't matter. Your focus narrows to what endures. Integrity, contribution, improvement. That's where long-term fulfillment comes from. It's not in the applause of the moment, but in the quiet knowledge that you are playing your part in something larger than yourself. Commitment to duty means being loyal to reality, not to comfort. It means being open-minded enough to change when the evidence demands it, and strong enough to stay the course when conviction is justified. It's the balance between flexibility and firmness, between learning and leading. This balance is rare, but it's what makes systems and people resilient. Look at history, and you'll see this pattern clearly. Empires, companies, and individuals who stay grounded in principles, in truth, transparency, accountability, survive the storms. Those who drift into complacency or entitlement crumble. The cycle is predictable. Success creates comfort. Comfort breeds neglect. Neglect leads to decline. The antidote is constant recommitment to duty, to keep learning, to stay humble, to treat every success as a temporary loan from the future. The future belongs to those who prepare for it. Preparation is a form of duty, the discipline to plan, to anticipate, to build safeguards for uncertainty. It's not fear-based, it's respect-based. You respect how unpredictable life can be, and you act accordingly. You diversify, you strengthen your foundations, you build teams and institutions that can operate without you. That's how you create endurance. Personal duty and collective duty are intertwined. If each person focuses only on personal gain, the system weakens. If each person fulfills their role with integrity, the system strengthens. That's why leadership is not about privilege. It's about responsibility. The more power or influence you have, the greater your duty to use it wisely. Leadership without responsibility is instability waiting to happen. As the world accelerates, the temptation to think short-term grows stronger. Instant gratification, fast results, rapid recognition. They're seductive, but they erode depth. Commitment to duty forces you to slow down, to think in systems, to measure progress in years, not likes or headlines. It's a discipline of perspective. The deeper your time horizon, the clearer your decisions become. Ultimately, duty to the future is duty to truth. You can't build a sustainable future on illusions. You must face what's real, economically, socially, emotionally. That's not pessimism, it's strength. It's the willingness to see clearly and act accordingly. When you align your values, your goals, and your actions with reality, you become effective. You stop fighting the system and start working with it. The future doesn't care about our intentions, it responds to our actions. So, the question each of us must ask is, are we building something that will outlast us? Are we leaving the system stronger than we found it? Are we honoring the invisible contract between generations? That what we inherit, we improve. That's what commitment to duty really means. It's not about obedience or sacrifice for its own sake. It's about stewardship. It's about being part of an unbroken chain, receiving what others built, improving it through your effort, and passing it forward with integrity. That's how civilizations advance. That's how legacies are earned. If you understand this deeply, you stop worrying about credit. You start caring about contribution. Because in the end, the most powerful measure of a life is how it strengthens the world it touches. Duty is the discipline that keeps that measure alive. The future is built by those who accept it, live it, and pass it on. Not as a burden, but as a calling. There are truths that live quietly in the heart long before we can put them into words. One of them is that we are never just ourselves. We are part of something larger, something that shapes us even as we shape it. That sense of belonging to our family, to our people, to our country, is not only a source of pride, but a reminder of responsibility. It is what gives meaning to our journey, and what keeps us grounded when life moves quickly around us. When I think of unity, I do not imagine it as everyone being the same. I see it as a harmony of differences, a shared rhythm made up of distinct notes. Each person, each voice, each story contributes to the music of a nation. Unity is not built by erasing what makes us unique, but by learning to listen to one another with respect, by understanding that every heart beats with its own history and hope. It is the strength that comes from connection, from the invisible threads that tie our lives together. In my own life, I have learned the meaning of unity through family. From the earliest moments, it is in family that we learn what it means to belong, to give, to forgive, to grow. My sister and I have shared countless memories that have taught me the quiet power of support. The way a simple gesture can make you feel seen, understood, and safe. Family bonds are the first bridge we build toward others. They teach us how to care, how to listen, how to serve. And that same spirit extends outward, from the home to the community, from the community to the nation. A family is not defined by perfection. There are moments of disagreement, of misunderstanding, of change. Yet even then, love remains the constant. The silent promise that we do not walk alone. The same is true of a nation. There are challenges that test our unity, moments when we see things differently, when we stand at crossroads. But it is in those moments that our shared identity becomes most vital. It reminds us that despite differences, we are bound by something deeper, by a shared story, by values that have endured through generations, by the desire to build a future we can be proud of. A country, like a family, is made strong not by avoiding challenges, but by facing them together. Its unity is measured not by how easy times are, but by how we respond when the road becomes difficult. We learn from those who came before us, from their sacrifices, from their courage, from their belief that even small acts of service can shape the destiny of many. Their legacy is not only written in history books, it is carried in our everyday lives, in how we treat one another, in how we protect what we have been given. National identity is not something fixed, it is alive. It breathes through culture, through language, through the way we celebrate and remember. It evolves as we do, but at its heart, it remains rooted in the same idea, that we are stronger together than we could ever be alone. To belong to a nation is to inherit both privilege and purpose. It is to recognize that our story is one page in a much larger book, and that how we write it matters. When I meet people from different parts of our country, I am always struck by how much we share, even when our landscapes and traditions differ. There is a familiar warmth in the way people greet you, a quiet pride in their work, a love for the land and for the stories passed down through generations. These simple things, the kindness, the respect, the sense of community, are the essence of who we are. They are the roots of our identity, the light that connects our individual paths into a shared horizon. Unity is not something we inherit fully formed, it is something we must renew every day. It lives in the choices we make, to listen before judging, to help before being asked, to build bridges instead of walls. It is in the way we speak to one another, in the way we show gratitude, in the way we remember that behind every difference, there is a person with a heart much like our own. True unity asks for empathy. It asks us to see beyond our own perspective and to value the collective strength that emerges when we stand together. The bond between family and nation is, in many ways, inseparable. The love that begins at home becomes the love we give to our people. The respect we learn in our earliest years becomes the foundation for civic life. The lessons we share around a family table, about honesty, effort, kindness, are the same principles that sustain a country. When families are strong, nations are strong. When individuals carry a sense of duty and gratitude, society flourishes. And yet, unity is never static. It must be nurtured with dialogue, with openness, with an honest willingness to learn. Every generation brings new ideas, new voices, new dreams. Embracing them does not weaken our identity, it renews it. Just as the heart grows stronger with every beat, a nation grows stronger when it welcomes growth without losing its essence. We honor the past not by repeating it, but by allowing it to guide us as we move forward. There is something deeply moving about feeling part of a story that began long before you and will continue long after. It gives perspective. It humbles and inspires. When you realize that the flag, the traditions, the language you cherish have been cared for by countless hands before yours, you understand that your role is not to possess them, but to preserve and strengthen them for those who will come after. That is the true meaning of national identity, not ownership, but stewardship. Every nation has its challenges, moments when unity feels fragile, when uncertainty seems to cast a shadow over confidence. But history shows us that what keeps a nation strong is not the absence of struggle, but the persistence of belief. Belief in one another, belief in shared values, belief that what unites us is far greater than what divides us. That belief must live in each of us. It must be renewed through education, through service, through daily acts of kindness that may seem small but together build an unshakable foundation. And so, unity begins in the heart, just as it does in a family. It is not enforced, it is inspired. It is not demanded, it is lived. It thrives when we choose to see the best in one another, when we act with integrity, when we protect what we share. It is a light we must carry carefully, not as individuals seeking to shine alone, but as part of a collective glow that illuminates the path ahead for everyone. In the end, what binds us is not only a shared history, but a shared hope, a belief that we can keep growing, keep learning, keep becoming a better version of who we are. The unity of a nation is the reflection of its people's hearts, of their resilience, their kindness, their determination to move forward together. And the bonds of family, whether by blood or by belonging, remind us that love and loyalty are the strongest forces we have. If we hold on to that, if we nurture our connections, protect our shared identity, and face the future side by side, then no distance, no challenge, no change can divide us. For in the end, unity is not just something we create, it is something we become. It lives in the way we stand together, in the way we lift each other up, and in the way we remember that our greatest strength has always been, and will always be, one another.